Keir Starmer's Labour government is facing a political firestorm as a growing migrant crisis along the English Channel threatens to derail its first 100 days in office. In a shocking revelation, it has been reported that more than 13,500 migrants have crossed the Channel in small boats since Labour came to power on July 5, 2024, an average of 135 people a day. With the total number of migrants crossing the Channel this year soaring to over 27,200, Labour's handling of the crisis has come under intense scrutiny, sparking outrage among voters, political opponents, and even some of Starmer's own allies. On Saturday, the problem reached new heights as more than 400 migrants crossed from France in just a single day, taking advantage of a brief lull in stormy weather that had previously prevented crossings. People smugglers took full advantage of the calm conditions, launching multiple dinghies from French beaches under the cover of night. The situation deteriorated further when, just a day earlier, another 142 migrants made the perilous journey across the Channel, bringing the government's immigration policy under sharp focus. This surge in illegal crossings has exposed deep cracks in Labour's strategy for tackling immigration, raising questions about Starmer's ability to handle a crisis that continues to spiral out of control. Labour's flagship immigration reform, promised during the election campaign, was aimed at dismantling the people smuggling networks and bringing an end to dangerous Channel crossings. Yet, despite pledges to smash the gangs, the crisis appears to be worsening, leaving many wondering if Labour's approach is too little, too late. Labour's government has already directed tens of millions of pounds in additional resources toward the newly created Border Security Command, designed to tackle the growing problem head-on. The UK has also signed international agreements with G7 nations and other countries to increase cooperation in law enforcement, particularly in cracking down on people smuggling operations. The new Border Security Command aims to strengthen global partnerships, bolster border patrols, and enhance the UK's ability to investigate, arrest, and prosecute those involved in human trafficking. However, with the number of crossings continuing to climb, critics argue that these measures have so far proven ineffective. A government spokesperson addressed the growing crisis by reaffirming Labour's commitment to dismantling the smuggling networks. The people smuggling gangs do not care if the vulnerable people they exploit live or die as long as they pay. We will stop at nothing to dismantle their business models and bring them to justice. We are making progress, bolstering our personnel numbers at home and abroad, and our new Border Security Command will strengthen our global partnerships and efforts to arrest and prosecute these evil criminals. Despite these assurances, the public remains sceptical. Many believe that Labour's promises of firm action against illegal immigration have fallen short, particularly when faced with the sheer scale of the problem. Political opponents have seized on the crisis, accusing Starmer's government of failing to take decisive action. The ongoing issue has sparked intense debate, with calls for stricter border policies and more resources dedicated to intercepting boats before they reach UK waters. The escalating border crisis has also triggered a broader political fallout for Labour. A newly released Techni UK poll reveals that Labour's vote share has plummeted below 30% for the first time since February 2022. Support for Labour, especially among older voters, has collapsed, with many turning to Nigel Farage's Reform UK or the Conservatives in frustration. The poll shows that Labour has lost 5 points since the election, with its vote share now standing at 29%, a dramatic decline that has left the party in disarray. This steep decline in Labour's popularity is being driven primarily by voters aged 55 and over who feel increasingly alienated by Starmer's policies. Labour's decision to cancel winter fuel payments for 10 million pensioners has further exacerbated their frustration. As the colder months approach, many older voters feel abandoned by Labour, which they believe is prioritising other issues over their well-being. The Techni UK poll shows that in the 55 to 64 age group, Labour now trails both the Tories and Reform UK, with just 23% support, compared to the Tories' 26% and Reform's 25%. Among voters aged 65 and over, the situation is even worse for Labour, with support dropping to just 22%, far behind the Tories at 29% and Reform at 24%. The loss of older voters is a significant blow to Labour, which had been hoping to solidify its support among this key demographic. The decision to cut winter fuel payments has caused widespread anger, with many seeing it as a betrayal of one of Labour's core voter bases. Labour's slide in popularity among older voters is dramatic, said Techni UK's chief executive, Michela Marizzo. The winter fuel payment decision and the handling of the migrant crisis have turned voters away from Labour in droves. Labour's internal issues have only worsened with recent chaotic decisions, including the sacking of Starmer's Chief of Staff, Sue Gray, and her controversial replacement with Morgan McSweeney. Rows over tax policy, particularly a rumoured hike in capital gains tax to 39%, have also fuelled discontent, creating the perception that Labour is out of touch with the concerns of both working-class and older voters. These missteps have compounded the party's troubles and left Starmer struggling to regain control of his government's narrative. Meanwhile, the Conservative Party has failed to capitalise on Labour's falling popularity. The Tories, still embroiled in their own leadership contest, gained just 1 point in the latest poll, rising to 24%. However, the real winner appears to be Nigel Farage's Reform UK, which has surged to 19%, siphoning off disillusioned voters from both Labour and the Conservatives. Farage's party has become a beacon for those dissatisfied with the handling of key issues such as immigration, taxation, and pension support. Labour's polling woes have been further complicated by divisions on the right, with the Conservative leadership contest adding to the uncertainty. Robert Jenrick, one of the frontrunners for Tory leadership, has pledged to reform the Conservative Party if elected. Jenrick's leadership bid has gained traction, thanks in part to his promise to appoint Jacob Rees-Mogg as Conservative Party chairman. This controversial appointment has drawn criticism, but has also garnered support from the party's grassroots members, many of whom view Rees-Mogg as a staunch defender of traditional Conservative values. Jenrick's leadership campaign has not been without controversy. He recently denied claims that he offered Rees-Mogg the chairmanship in exchange for political support. In an interview with GB News, Jenrick confirmed that Rees-Mogg's endorsement came before the job offer, stating, "I would like to think so," before quickly affirming that no deal had been made. Despite this, Jenrick and Rees-Mogg have laid out ambitious plans to reform the Conservative Party, including empowering local party members and overhauling the candidate selection process to end the practice of parachuting favoured candidates into safe seats. Jacob Rees-Mogg, who lost his parliamentary seat in the July election but remains popular among the Conservative grassroots, has been a key figure in Jenrick's campaign. The two politicians have vowed to overhaul the party's central operations, with Rees-Mogg in charge of campaigning should Jenrick win the leadership contest. Their plans include a renewed focus on empowering Conservative Party members and restoring respect for the party's core values, which they argue have been lost in recent years. As Labour grapples with the ongoing migrant crisis, the collapse of its support among older voters, and the rise of Reform UK, Starmer's government faces a tough road ahead. The next few months will be critical as Labour tries to regain control of the narrative, placate disillusioned voters, and address the issues that have led to its dramatic slide in the polls. For Keir Starmer, the migrant crisis may be the defining challenge of his leadership. With thousands more migrants expected to attempt the dangerous Channel crossing in the coming weeks, the pressure on Labour to deliver real solutions is only increasing. If Starmer fails to take decisive action soon, the damage to his party's credibility could be irreversible. As older voters turn away, frustrated by the handling of both immigration and social policies, Labour's once solid voter base is crumbling, and Starmer's government is at risk of collapsing under the weight of its own inaction.